All right.
We're just going to adjourn into executive session.
That is true. The time is now 5:02 p.m. I call this meeting of the Granbury Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections. Section 551.071, private consult with board's attorney. Section 551.072, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.074, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Section 551.076, deliberations regarding security devices or security audits. The time is now 5:03. All right, the time is now 6:02. We will reconvene now into open session, beginning with our invocation led by Melanie Graff.
Lord, thank you for the opportunity to serve you and our community. We recognize the great responsibility we have each been entrusted with. We pray that our actions and decisions glorify you and reflect your kingdom. Give us the courage and wisdom to make decisions for children, teacher, parents, and community. Thank you for the rain as we continue to pray for our communities of Bluffdale, Toller, Lipan, and all affected areas of Texas. Please protect all individuals, animals, homes, land, and those that are assisting in fighting the fires. Amen.
Thank you. And now for our pledges, we're going to have Ms. Ross and Ms. Valaquez come up with their little ones.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We have two students with us. We have Idali Velasquez, and her brother Liam Velasquez, and both of these kiddos are Nuvia's children. And tonight they're going to lead us in the pledges in English and in Spanish. And if you didn't know, Bronner houses the bilingual and the dual language program, and we have about 220 students in our school who are bilingual. And so we're really proud to have a K through 5 and so many students on our campus. We have 11 bilingual teachers on our campus, and we're lucky enough this year to have 2 Tarleton interns. And so both of those ladies have been student teaching for an entire year in a bilingual classroom. And right now, Ms. Velasquez is going to tell you just a little bit more about her own children and our dual language and bilingual program, and then we'll get started.
Good evening. Okay, so I have Ida Lee. She's in 3rd grade at Bronner, and she's been one of the first students to be in the dual language program. I've had the wonderful pleasure of being her teacher for 2 years now. And then we have Liam, and he's over there, and he's in 1st grade with Miss Espinosa. So they're doing a great job over there. Yes. Okay, you ready? We're going to do English first. Okay, come over here. Okay. First is English. Say attention, salute. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
And now Idali is going to lead us in the pledge in Spanish.
Prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y la república que representa una nación bajo Dios indivisible con libertad y justicia para todos. And now for the Texas play. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance for the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Honra bandera de Texas, te prometo lealtad a ti, Texas, de Estado bajo Dios, uno e indivisible.
And then at the end of our pledges, we say 2 mottos in Spanish every day. We say, how do we treat every student and staff member at our school? And the kids answer with kindness, courtesy, compassion, and respect. And then we repeat that in Spanish.
En Bronner tratamos a los estudiantes y al personal con amabilidad, cortesía, compasión y respeto.
And then at the end of our pledges, we say, at Bronner, we have a motto, learning for all, whatever it takes, and then we say that in Spanish.
Aprendizaje para todos, cueste lo que cueste.
Thank you very much.
And do we have any proud parents out there tonight of these 2 children? No? All right. All right, and for our achievement spotlight, we have, we're going to have Coach Polano come up for their swim team.
Good afternoon. Wes Jones told me last year I didn't take long enough, so I'm going to take my extra time now. So I'm here to talk about the 2022-2021 GHS swim team. We were successful despite some obstacles. For those people that don't know, we lost our pool for about a full week right before our regional meet, which forced 26 kids to have to rearrange practice and work schedules and bus up to Benbrook each evening, just trying to find some pool time. Regionals was also delayed 2 days because of another ice storm. This is the second year in a row I've had to adjust my taper schedule because of unwanted weather. But we still found success. The boys and girls were both the district champions for the 9th consecutive year. We were regional runners-up on the boys and girls side. This is the 4th consecutive year that boys and girls were top 2. And for the 7th consecutive year, we took a relay team to state, which is exceedingly difficult in a sport that's dominated by club swimming, where even one swimmer can kind of adjust the dynamics of a relay. We were also fortunate enough that for the 3rd consecutive year, we had a relay drop time at state. And if you don't think that it's exciting and difficult to do, replicating those emotions at a meet is really difficult, as Jeff's going to show. So here would be our assistant principals from Granbury High School. And right about now, they're going to, there it is, yeah. And let me tell you, there's never been more baseball parent action in the stands than those two right there. But they kept things really exciting and different. And swimming kind of works like a mountain. When you climb that peak, it's hard to really find that next peak. So for these boys to go down there and do what they did at state was really something. Speaking about them individually, I've got 4 of them with me today. Matthew Walters, who is a senior, going to Cornell next year to play baseball. Tyler Guidry, who is a junior. Jordan Buchanan, who is a junior. And Braxton Heffernan, who is a sophomore. And what I love about these 4 boys and what I can't get over is that they embody what I've always loved about Granbury. They're small town ambassadors that are involved in everything. 3 of the 4 of them will be named Academic All-State in April. The 4th one would be if he were a junior. He's a sophomore currently. 3 of the 4 are dual sport varsity athletes. Juggling a taper schedule with a varsity baseball schedule seems to get more and more difficult each year. They missed a lot of practices leading up to our regional meet because they had baseball obligations. So balancing those two is difficult. And additionally, Jordan Buchanan's an officer in the GHS FFA chapter, and they all hold part-time jobs. So these boys are really well-rounded individuals, and I have to give them credit, but also credit their families. All 4 of these boys are children of GISD employees. Jordan Buchanan's mom, Christy, works at Emma Robertson as a pre-K teacher. Tyler Guidry and Braxton Heffernan's dads work at the high school as assistant principals. And Matthew Walters' dad is the choir director at AMS, and his mom is the counselor at STARS. So I couldn't be more proud of these boys. We went down to state with one goal in mind, to not get last. And we did not get last. We got 23rd. 23rd. So we'll bring back 3 of these boys next year, and Matthew will be on to do bigger and better things at Cornell. But I'm very, very excited and very proud of these 4 boys.
Well, we keep seeing these guys up here over and over again. They are just some fantastic students, and we're real proud of them. And if there's any proud parents out there, why don't they stand up and say hello? All right, now it's the time of our meeting where we have our open forums. I have 9 people who have signed up, so I would like to give them 3 minutes apiece. And the way this is going to work is each speaker will come up and introduce themselves. I ask the audience to please be respectful of all people that are speaking. The board will not say anything to them. We are just listening at this point. And we will start with the first person, who is Mr. Stephen Renke. And it's 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here tonight to speak about the all-day pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. A few years ago, I spoke with 3 or 4 of y'all about the impact that it'll have to our industry once Granbury started doing full day for 4-year-olds and added 3-year-olds along with that. The impact has made a major impact on our industry here in town. Many child care centers here, once again, I own Creation Child Care and Learning Centers here in town. It has made an impact to us. Many of our centers here in town, we used to have 2 classrooms for 3 and 4s. We're struggling to have 1 classroom now. If Granbury does decide to do full pre-K for 3 and 4s for all, that's going to be detrimental to the industry here in town for child care centers, and I'm here to show my opposition for it. If that does happen, that leaves us with the infants, tots, and 2s. I know what I've been reading in the paper about. It's going to save the young families money, not having to pay for 3 and 4-year-olds, and it's going to help them out. What's going to happen to the little ones? What is going to happen to those infant, tots, and 2s? In order for us to stay open, we're going to have to double our rate, triple our rate, redo our centers to make it work. I don't know the answers to that yet. We've already made adjustments for what has happened with the 3s and 4s, and we made it, somewhat working. But now going after another big part of our business, it's going to be tough for us. I don't see how we can stay open. Once that happens, what's going to happen to Granbury? Who's going to watch those little children? Is it really doing a justice to the city of Granbury opening it up for all, taking away the child care centers of Granbury? I don't think they can afford it. I know we can't afford to stay open, and I wish y'all to reconsider not open it up to all 3 and 4-year-olds. Keep it the way it is and leave us with something to stay open to help the city of Granbury. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranke. And next we have Tara Lynch. Hello, Ms. Lynch.
Hello, my name is Tara Lynch. I own and operate Small Steps Child Care here in town. And I have to echo what Stephen said. It's going to be detrimental to our centers for you guys to have this 3 and 4-year-old program. It already has with just the Head Start edition with the 3-year-olds full day. Not only will the businesses, some of us may have to close. The 3 and 4-year-old market is where we do make the majority of our revenue to pay our staff, whereas the 0 to 2 age groups, it's not there. So that does mean, like he said, that our infant and toddler prices are going to rise significantly, doubling, if not possibly tripling, which will hurt these young parents that are getting free 3 and 4-year-old childcare. There's also the fact that we're going to have to pivot for those of us that do stay open and find a way to make this work. Which hopefully will be all of us, but possibly not. And then when we do pivot to be able to keep our doors open, where are these kids going to go during the summer that are with you guys in the fall and the spring? There's going to be summer care, holiday care, and after school care that we may not have room for them when that time comes. So I just want to let you know that we're against that as well for the 3 and 4-year-old full day pre-K. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. And next we have Aaron Jones. Hello, Ms. Jones.
Hi. Again, thanks for letting me speak. And I just have to agree both with Stephen and Tara. I have a daycare here in town, Circle of Life. We've been open for 14 years. And just through the years, we have to make adjustments every time. We're adjusting. We're barely all just coming back from the pandemic and the struggles that we had. And I understand it's already on the ballot, so it's kind of a moot point other than getting the word out to the parents of how it's really in the long term going to affect you with you guys don't have summer care, you guys close randomly for days. All these parents who are going to vote for it because free is very appealing, because childcare is very expensive, they're going to vote for it because it's free, and you're not looking for how it's really going to affect you in the long term. Because if we do pivot, we can't hold our classrooms available for your summers, your random days off, your Christmas, your Thanksgiving. So how are you going to accommodate those parents in that time? And I think we're strongly against it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And now we have Susan Wood. Hello, Ms. Wood.
Hello. My name is Susan Wood, and I'm retired, but I have been a teacher, a children's protective worker, and a therapist. I would like to publicly thank the GISD School Board for introducing me to Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez, one of the books that the committee recently voted to ban from the school library. It's an amazing book. It's poignant, tender, tragic, incredibly well written. Yes, it is a challenging and emotional book. The School Library Journal wrote, quote, "This book presents a range of human nature, from kindness and love to acts of racial and sexual violence. The work resonates with fear, hope, love, and the importance of memory. It breaks my heart to think that our high school students will not have access to it in our school library. I'm told this book is considered pornographic. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines pornography as the portrayal of erotic material for the purpose of arousal. This book does not meet that criteria in any way. So how did the decision get made? Did every person on the committee read this book? Did they just read excerpts? More importantly, is there a way to appeal this decision, or even a way to reach a compromise on books the committee deems too emotionally challenging for our students, perhaps requiring parental consent to check them out? I anticipate that when the books are presented to the public tomorrow, the rape scene will probably be flagged for us to view, and you'll be horrified. And that's good, because that means it isn't pornographic. Remember, porn is designed to arouse. It also means that you will be asked to judge a book out of context rather than reading the whole book. You'll miss all the love and support that the characters are given by their families and other members in their community. You will miss the historically accurate description of what happened in 1937 when a community with the best of intentions tried to cut corners, resulting in the deadly explosion and collapse of the New London School. You'll miss how people in their pain and anguish look for scapegoats upon which to express their anger, targeting someone who looks or acts differently. Unfortunately, we all know that there are still men who rape and abuse their wives and children in our community today. Do you think our children, our students, don't know this, that they haven't experienced this or known someone who did? Out of Darkness has received multiple honors and awards. Here are just a few. Best Children's Book of the Year Award, Best of the Best Books Award, Choices Award, Distinguished Books Award, School Library Journal Best Books Award, YALSA Best Fiction for Young Adults Award, America's Award for Children and Young Adult Literature, Discovery Prize, Michael L. Prince Award, and the Thomas Rivera Mexican-American Children's Book Award for older readers. I would ask that the board consider these factors when making their decision, that there be a clear procedure to be followed, that committee members and board members making these decisions be required to read these books before voting, and that we look for a compromise. There may be many parents in Granbury who want their children to have access to challenging books, who want their kids to expand their understanding beyond the confines of their current situation and see different viewpoints and life circumstances.
Ms. Wood, we have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Last sentence. These parents should be able to give their consent for their children to do so if we put them in a consent section, thereby maintaining our students' First Amendment rights. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Terry Call. Hello, Ms. Call.
Hello, my name is Terry Call. My son is a student at Granbury High School. I will not form an opinion on a book until I've read it in its entirety. I read 6 of the books that were under review before they were returned to their shelves. Well, I read 5 of them completely. 1 book didn't interest me, so I stopped reading it about a third of the way through. I am only halfway through Out of Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez, which ISD recently banned. I would prefer not to give my opinion on it since I haven't completed it. But since the board meeting is tonight and not next week, well, here I am. For those of you who have not read Out of Darkness, it is a novel, I would call it a historical fiction, that takes place in the 1930s in an East Texas oil field town where racism is blatant. It was a reality of the times. Out of Darkness touches on some difficult topics. It is extremely well written and has great character development. In the first half of the book, there are probably individual lines or passages that, when read out of context, someone might decide they aren't appropriate. I can attest that each one is important to the storyline and the character development. No one wants to think about young people being abused, but reality is, it happens right here in our town. Our students need the opportunity to read stories that show that sexual abuse is never the fault of the victim. It is important to read stories of characters who are different from us to help us develop empathy and understanding. I can't imagine living in a place and a time when anyone would think it is okay to have a sign in a store that says, "No Mexicans or coloreds allowed." I'll wait until I finish the book before I decide if I recommend it to my teenage son. Based on the first half, I would recommend it to all high school students and adults. I have not read We Are the Ants or This Book is Gay, the other 2 books that were recently banned, so I don't have an opinion on them, but they are next on my to-read list. I do appreciate the school district and the parents for wanting to read books that their students are reading. That's being a responsible adult. I hope parents are also reviewing what their children are watching on TikTok and messages they are sending out on Snapchat. Anytime a book is removed from a school because it is deemed inappropriate, I hope the district will place it on a public list. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Call. Next is Megan Cook. Hello, Ms. Cook.
Hi. The last time I was here, I was also here on the topic of the books. And I am very concerned as a parent of 2 children in our school district that our school district would make the decision to ban books and no longer offer them to the kids. I feel very strongly that as a parent, the compromise that I would really hope our school district would proceed with is not removing them from the shelves entirely, but placing them on a shelf that my child can have access if I have given them consent to have access. I feel like this is fair because I am lucky that I'm privileged enough that if I really want to buy a book for my child, I can buy that book. But I know that not every student in our school district has that same luxury as my children do. But I feel like they should have the luxury to read a book if their parent has consented for them to read that book. And secondarily, I would say that things that are emotionally evocative, things that raise questions in children's minds or even in our adult minds as we are reading those books, that isn't a bad thing. If anything, that is a great thing because that can motivate our children to action. It gives them a sense of morality to identify what is right and what is wrong. And those kids are so brilliant. Our kids in this district are so smart that they're going to read those books and recognize that the rape in that book is wrong and they should not stand for it. And it may inspire them to stand up for their friends that have had that experience. And that book just lends power to them. And so I really feel that our district needs to do better than banning the books, than removing them from the shelf. We need to find a compromise, and so that is what I'm imploring you to do, and I'm hopeful that you would proceed in doing that in a consent section, a parental consent section.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. And next we have Nate Criswell. Hello, Mr. Criswell.
Hello, Madam President. How are you?
I'm well.
I thank you all for the opportunity to talk today. As an aside, before I get started, I do want to say I am in agreement with the early childhood learning centers that going to all-day pre-K is probably not the best idea, and I would like to applaud you all for taking the action you have taken to get some of the problem books out of the library. So with that, what I want to talk about today is safety. So we know that there are 3 schools, I forget which ones. I know Acton Elementary and Oakwood because I drive by them during the pickup and drop-off times, and it's a dangerous situation. We've got those 3 schools that need a pickup and drop-off loop, right? Here recently, and this is very tragic, a student was struck outside of the high school, and that's awful, and we don't want that to happen again. So my question is, why are these pickup and drop-off loops not being prioritized higher? Why are they attached to the upcoming bond election? Now, I would like to think that it's not to play on people's emotions as a way to sell the bond or market the bond out in the community, but then I watched the bond video, which is on GISD's website, and in that I saw that in my opinion, things like CTE, the literacy initiative, free dual credit are being juxtaposed as to being part of the bond. And it's causing a lot of confusion out in the community. They say, well, how can you be against the bond? We're going to do free dual credit for everybody. Well, that's not coming out of the bond. And there are some other things that I think should be highlighted as not being accounted for yet. If y'all do move to all-day pre-K, the increase in staff is going to be coming out of your M&O, correct? That's not factored in yet in any of the numbers I've seen. And then we still don't have a line item deal of, hey, the new high school is going to cost this much. The improvements to the elementary school are going to cost this much. Not that I've seen anyways. And if there is, I hope to get that here soon. And I guess what I'm saying is if we have the money to buy the 85 acres for the bond that hasn't passed yet and is being marketed in a questionable manner, why do we not have the money to go ahead and make those improvements to the school safety aspect with the pickup and drop-off loops? I'd like to see that as something part of the summer projects I think you'll do during the summer, big construction, stuff like that. So if there's a way to prioritize that, it would be excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Criswell. Is it Craig Mayberry? Hello, Mr. Mayberry.
Hi, how y'all doing tonight? Yes, my name is Craig Mayberry, proud parent of and concerned of former GISD graduate. And At the board meeting on January 24th, 8 speakers got up to voice their opposition to the removal of the pornographic materials under consideration by the state of Texas. My question for those who said these books should not be banned, and that is, how did you come to the conclusion that they shouldn't be banned? Libraries contain books, and books contain ideas. Ideas always have consequences, and bad ideas have victims. Believe it or not, there are some ideas that should never be made available to the people to act upon. If I go into any library, I should never expect to find a title like Principles for Successful and Discrete Meth Lab Management, Production, and Distribution, or Chop Shop Procurement Tactics for Dummies. Why not? Because those books promote ideas that hurt people. They have the end goal of selfish and personal gain at the expense of freedoms and safety of others, or they have subtle yet serious negative and unintended consequences that hurt people later on, not only to an individual but to society as well. Many of those speakers claim to be in the LGBTQ community or at least sympathetic to it. And as Dr. Glenn vehemently stated, LGBTQ is not the issue, explicit porn is. Okay, so you say, what's the big deal with porn, you ask? Plenty. Starting off with the fact that porn is no different than drug, alcohol, gambling addiction. It's a fuel that equally affects the gay or straight population. It cares not what label you represent and is an equal opportunity poison. Reading and watching porn will, in most cases, forever alter the way you view your spouse, your partner, your friends, and even total strangers. The entire idea behind porn is to subconsciously objectify another person for the sole purpose of feeding one's own selfish, lustful desires at the expense of another. What many don't realize is that these books under review are still limited to, and for the moment, generally adult-on-adult action. And as we know, when the left pushes an agenda, we know they never stop until there are no more avenues to exploit. If the porn that is under consideration receives acceptance, it won't stop there. The next stops down the slippery slope are incest, pedophilia, bestiality, and necrophilia. And just like smoking, porn has no benefits whatsoever for the reader or viewer. Its sole purpose is to uncontrollably inflame the lust of the flesh for its natural and carnal desire. Porn has its way of burning scene and images into the retina of your mind and soul that you can never unsee. Those images are subconsciously brought into every personal relationship thereafter, gay or straight. It creates an unspoken expectation of how the other party in a relationship is to be treated. Finally, I do wish to say I admire the courage of students who got up here to voice their 2 cents worth. But with all due respect, kids, there is one conclusive thing that can be said about your desires to keep these books in the library, and that is you have absolutely no clue what you're talking about in terms of the impact and consequences of reading and watching this stuff. So how can this fat old fart say that? Very simple. You have no obligations to anyone outside of yourself. None of you have someone who is completely financially dependent on you. You don't have a career. You don't have a spouse or even a lifetime partner. You don't have kids or mortgage or SUV payments, and you certainly don't pay taxes to any meaningful extent. Translation, you have not lived long enough to reap the consequences of what it is you're desiring to hold on to. And anyone in this audience over 40 knows exactly what I'm talking about because we have all tried it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayberry. Lou Whiting. Did I pronounce the last name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Hello.
Ms. Whiting. Hi.
Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Lou Whiting. I'm a junior at Granbury High School. And I will say, I don't have much to say. I won't be taking up much of your time. Rather, I am standing up here today to serve as a reminder to Granbury ISD that we, your students, have not forgotten about the books removed from the shelves. I want to stand here as a reminder that despite the recent Krauseless book ban, and despite how much Granbury ISD has managed to push so much information under the rug, information that impacts its students and its staff, present and future, that Granbury students will not stand down. And Granbury students will not forget this. We have come together in an effort to protect the diversity and the unity of our school libraries, and you cannot and will not stop us from doing just that. We are here, and we will protect our books just as our books have protected us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Whiting. And that concludes our open forum and public comments.
Just quick reminders, we had so many people that mentioned it tonight. We will have a town hall on the bond tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And I know several of you brought up questions as it relates to the items discussed in the bond in the long-range planning committee, and we'd be happy to engage in dialogue tomorrow night at 6, and that'll be live streamed in case you can't make that meeting.
And there'll be 7.
And I think we have a total of 3.
Okay, we're going to go on to discussion action. First, consider consent agenda items. Are there any items that a board member would like to pull out and discuss?
I'd like to make note that under the budget amendments, Antonia Segura has donated $2,000 toward the pilot preparation program so that students who might not otherwise be able to afford it will be able to get their flying time and move on to get their pilot's license. So we certainly appreciate all that these community members do for our students. And if you know this individual, please make sure you express your thanks for that.
Thank you, Dr. Harrington. Is there anything else that anyone would like to pull out to discuss? Okay. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda items?
Madam President, I'll make the motion that we pass the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Can I make a comment about one thing on there?
Of course.
Okay, before we vote, I just wanted to talk about the MOU that we're talking about doing with Tarleton. I looked into the U.S. Prep Renewer Educator Preparation, and
That's not on the consent.
that's afterwards.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never mind. Scratch that.
All right. So we go back to.
Coming up.
Yeah. So we have a motion. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Dr. McDonald. So we have a motion by Mr. Jackson, second by Dr. McDonald. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous. All right, now moving on to consider approval of HVAC units purchased for GHS, AMS, GMS, AES. Mr. Whitefield.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, in front of you, you do have the CSP for the HVAC units that was let. It was sent out to 120 vendors. 3 of those did respond. It's a recommendation of the administration for the board to accept the Texas Air Systems, which is the lowest bid of all 3 of them. The bid did come in at $200,338 higher than we have for ESSER funds. However, this morning, Ms. Brown told me that she may be able to find some of those ESSER funds to fund the rest of that, and that would complete all 4 schools. So it is a recommendation of administration to approve this CSP.
Are there any questions or comments on that?
Madam President, I move that we accept that approval of the HVAC units to be purchased for GHS, AMS, GMS, and AES under CSP 2022-34.
Thank you, Dr. Harrington. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? It is unanimous. Moving on to consider approval of biannual contract with Templeton Demographics. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President. You have before you tonight the contract for Templeton Demographics for the 22-23 school year. As you know, Templeton Demographics is not just the demographer we use here in Granbury ISD, but they're widely respected across the state. Regardless of the outcome of the bond election in May, we're going to need to do a demographic study, look at the zoning for our elementary schools, our junior high, and also kind of get an idea of where the population trends are going. As many of you know, because we've shown the slide over and over and over again, back in August, I believe there were 20 actively building subdivisions in our community and about 14 future subdivisions. We know that that number has grown and continues to grow, and so it would be my recommendation that we move forward with Templeton demographics for the 22-23 school year, and then beyond that, we may be able to let it go for a couple of years and watch those trends play out. But I think we're going to need their services moving into the summer of '22.
Are there any comments? Questions? Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I believe that we need to extend the biannual contract with Templeton Demographics and continue on.
All right.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Dr. McDonald, seconded by Ms. Gore. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Moving on now to consider MOU to partner with Tarleton on Texas COVID Acceleration Learning Support T-Class program.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very excited to bring this T-Class program to you. We will receive funding on this, and we've already received funding for this year, next year, and the 23-24 season. Up to 20 candidates can participate in this program each year, and they will receive $20,000 for tuition fees and living expenses. The mentors are selected by Granbury ISD and will be paid up to $5,000 each year. The difference between this program and the student teaching program is that this is for a full year and not a semester, and that there will be a lot more evaluations, feedback, videotaping, and a lot more people involved. So I include a lot of things in your packet, but is there any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you for being proactive. When I read about the position our cohorts across the state find themselves, where Houston has had between 200 and 300 vacancies all year, I think this is an excellent proactive move, and thank you for moving forward.
I like the idea of being able to offer that to our teachers. Was a teacher myself. I went through student teaching, and I understand how valuable that can be for student teachers. I have a couple concerns with the U.S. Prep and what role they're going to play with the student teachers in Tarleton State. I know as a district, we don't have any say over who they use, but I do have some concerns raised with the U.S. Prep and some of the things that I've found that is in their program. I'm not sure if it's part of the program that Tarleton will be using, but it does contain some issues that I addressed during my campaign. So if those are going to be in the program, I wouldn't be able in good faith to be able to vote for this.
I would second what Courtney said. I'm in agreement with Courtney as well.
Yeah, and I'll ask Stacy Brown, do you have a second to come up to the podium? She could probably address the question better. I'm sorry, what did I say? Oh, okay.
From what I understand, the U.S. Prep is kind of mediator between Tarleton and ourselves, and so Tarleton and us, so we're going to kind of build the program ourselves. There's numerous meetings planned in the future to work all these details out, but that's kind of, from my understanding, they're kind of the mediator and just kind of guiding us through this.
Stacey, you just want to touch briefly on the role of U.S. Prep?
Basically, it's just like Mr. Jones said, U.S. Prep provides kind of a framework that a district will use to build their program along with Tarleton, along with a variety of other people. So it's not just U.S. Prep that's involved. That is one of the agencies that is involved. Does that help at all?
Yeah, and if you want to, you can feel free to address the concerns, and we can let you know if we've heard of anything specific as it relates.
Specifically as it relates to CRT.
Okay.
They have material online. Like I said, I don't know if it's part of the program that Tarleton will be using, but that material is available. It is part of some of the programs that they do implement, and I wouldn't, like, if they're going to be putting educators through that program here in Texas, and then we're incentivizing that through our district, I wouldn't be able to support that. As much as I would to support student teachers, I don't want to incentivize bringing that into our schools either, if that makes sense.
So I think for clarification, the curriculum piece for the student teachers is taught through Tarleton. And
Yes.
It's really independent of
But
Granbury
there are
ISD.
requirements that US Prep does require out of Tarleton through these ESSER funds.
So it does have some requirements that are specific, as far as which specific requirements. I don't know if it's a possibility that we can have the discussion as to the specific requirements under US Prep.
I think from a local ISD standpoint, what I can tell you is the legislature has been clear on a critical race theory not being taught in Texas public schools, and so we are going to honor that. As far as higher ed, I'll be honest with you, I'm not as familiar with what their requirements are as it relates to critical race theory and state funding.
And we've been using Tarleton in the past for heavy recruiting and bringing great teachers to our district, correct?
Absolutely. We use Tarleton quite a bit.
I've got a question around, it seems to me we're buying this big machine and then we're going to read the owner's manual after we bought it. I mean, if we are going to approve this tonight and provide you the framework to build this program with Tarleton, assuming we get past any curriculum issues that might come through the program, my questions were more centered around how are we going to identify mentors within GISD? What are your criteria going to be? Who are these teachers going to be that are going to be mentoring these young people out of Tarleton?
So I would tell you, and Mr. Jones can speak to this as well, but they have a very specific program that they're planning to lay out. Here are the requirements for a mentor of this teacher, and as well as specific, and I don't know if there's an application process, but it would involve a specific requirements for the mentor teachers, some sort of application, committee-based decision. And so it would be more than just, okay, you're going to go with so-and-so, you're going to go with so-and-so. It'll be definitely attaching a variety of funds to it is going to make it a more stringent process, a more, I don't want to say specific process, but outlining the specific criteria for this is what a mentor teacher will be, this is how you get to be a mentor teacher, as well as this is how we assign you to a specific person. So I know that they've been working on outlining the program, how they would qualify, what are the indicators specifically for, what makes a great mentor, and how do we decide which mentor goes with which teacher and vice versa.
So the process currently for student teachers is to be, I guess it's mainly the campus principals, I would assume, at least from what little I know through my wife. I mean, it's they go to the more experienced teachers and say, hey, would you be willing to mentor a student teacher from Tarleton this semester? I mean, is that?
Sure. This is a little deeper, I guess you could say. From a student teacher perspective, our principals are fantastic at saying, okay, this particular student teacher is looking for a bilingual second grade teacher. Okay, so I've got 2 of those over at Bronner. Maybe we could do, part-time at Bronner, and then we could go down to kinder. So they really kind of work the situation with student teachers, but that's a much shorter time frame, and the specifics surrounding the internship are more stringent, as well as the process that Granbury ISD will be using specifically to assign the mentors with the teacher for the year.
There will be more time involved. That's why they're talking about paying these mentors $5,000, because it's a lot more intense than our current student teaching mentor.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Dr. Harrington's point. We all know we have a teacher shortage in this country, and it's hitting harder and harder closer to Texas and our own ISD. And I'm intrigued by this program, but I'm kind of got some questions open in my mind, and, you know, are we dipping our toe in the water here with 2 or 3 of these positions, or are we talking up to 15? I can't remember what the number was in here.
Up to 20.
Is it up to 20?
So we currently have 19 in the district that started before this specific process was awarded. And so we were in the process of application, et cetera. And so again, clarifying and putting the specific procedures in place for, look, how is this different from I don't want to say plain old student teaching, but internship versus student teaching. It is different. It is longer. It's more intensive. There are classroom requirements. Tarleton has set requirements. We will set specific requirements as to, you know, what's expected from the interns, from the teachers, and then from the campuses as well.
At this point, we don't really have anything to look at in terms of beyond this MOU we've looked at. We don't have anything internally we've worked up, no criteria, or, I mean.
I think you guys are going to a meeting on Thursday.
I've got one tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. They found in the past that a lot of these graduates are just getting their degree and then using the alternative certification so they can get paid at the same time. And so they're trying to, because it's so important they get that preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, Tarleton approached Granbury ISD as well as a number of other districts about this program because again, this is federal funding, and for those in the audience that are kind of wondering what we're talking about ESSER funding. And so as we look at the federal money that we're able to apply for, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to further our partnership with Tarleton State University. It's an opportunity to help out student teachers who have been working for us for the course of the year. And so I think there's a lot of good that comes with it. If we decline it, I mean, it's just like any other federal grant. That money will be pushed off somewhere else. But we have a good partner, a good educational partner that has asked us to enroll in this program to help their student teachers, some of whom might become Granbury ISD teachers. And so as we look at the dynamics of it and Tarleton's willingness to work through the process with us, we see that it really has the opportunity to be a win-win.
Do we know of any of the other ISDs that are considering doing this with Tarleton?
Do you know?
I do not know. I know Tarleton is with the Texas A&M system, and they have multiple ISDs, but I don't know specific.
Wes, is there a deadline on when the MOU needs to be approved? I mean, would Tarleton want to come to the April meeting and provide more information?
Yes, I mean, we were supposed to approve this last month. I mean, I say there's not a deadline, but they wanted us to have that meeting.
They want us to approve it because they can get their student teachers paid quicker.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so that's where the deadline resides.
Yeah.
Is there any harm in pushing it back? I mean, would these teachers still be able, if it were to be approved, making it back one more month, would that be something that is doable so we can get some more information?
I would think so. Yes.
I would even be willing to sit through a special call meeting to hear a presentation about it so that when we vote, we will be informed.
Maybe we could bring Charleston over and they could speak to their end of it too.
Yeah, if it's the board's desire to table this issue, we'll reach out to Dr. Sloan and tell him that we've requested a more formal presentation about outcomes and about the U.S. prep.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion to table.
You don't have to do that? Okay. We're just going to go, okay, we're just not taking action on that one. Thank everyone for their due diligence in that particular item. And we will now move on to our reports. Dr. Glenn.
Thank you, Madam President. Hope everybody had a great spring break. I do want to start by giving a special shout out to our campus principals. Not only did the common assessment scoring come back very positive for the district, knowing that we're on the right track, knowing that we're addressing some of the COVID slide issues that we've seen. We also know that we are 6 weeks away from STAR testing, and just cannot thank our leadership, our campus leadership enough for the job that they are doing. So God bless you for what you do. We know you work hard each and every day, and be sure and pass our gratitude along to your teachers. I also want to congratulate, and I'm sure we'll see him at a future meeting, but 5-time national champion Marine Corps JROTC program led by Colonel Casey and First Sergeant Rositas. They continue to bring award after award and championship after championship back to our district, and they truly have become one of our flagship programs here in the ISD. Then finally, I would like to give a special shout out to Jimmy Dawson. While most of us were enjoying our spring break, he continued to stay up here at the office. He scheduled tours for some campus administrators to get the opportunity to go look at construction around the Metroplex, and while we were off the clock, he was on the clock, so we appreciate the job that he has done. And then just 2 more quick reminders for everybody. Be checking out the district website. We do have 3 town halls upcoming related to the bond, and then we have 1 special town hall related to parents who have kids enrolled in the high school that are trying to navigate the process of preparing children for life after high school. And we're going to try and provide 3 or 4 unique perspectives from parents, specifically dads, who have navigated their own children through this process. But it's open to moms and dads. We think it'll be beneficial, and all of that information is on the district website, as well as the breakfast with the board at AMS. So we'll be there with Miss Pennington on Wednesday morning, and I believe that is 7:45, and so we're looking forward to that as well. Madam President, that's all I have this evening.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Glenn. Okay, Emmett, why don't you go and give us the financial statements and then go right into the cash flow.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, in front of you have the financial statements for the period ending February 28, 2022. It reflects that the revenue collected to date equals 80.23% of the budgeted amount, compared to 86.44% in 2021 and in 91.63% in 1920. Notable on that is going to be the property taxes. They are just shy of what they were in previous years. However, I did an analysis this afternoon, and those funds have come in this month already. So it'll make itself up next month. And under expenditures, to date, the expenditures represent 46.93% of the budget, compared to 47.22% in 2020, 2021, and 46.86% in 1920. Some notable things on those will be under our function 33 for health services. We added a district roaming nurse, and then transportation, we have increased costs that have to do with fuel right now. So that's just the way it's going to be, it looks like. And then I'll remind you that under 51 are the portables and the Oakwood property cleanup that we did at that point. Moving on to the investment report, I just want to point out to you that I left that note on there about our long-term investments. Short-term investments are up in our interest rates. However, long-term investments take a hit when we do that. But we have started the process to liquidate those long-term investments, and as they mature, we are cashing those in. So your investment report looks about like it's looked every month. We actually made money in February, but we're still below on our budget right now. But hopefully when we get them all moved into the more liquid investments, we'll make more money. That's your investment report.
Thank you, Emmett. All right. At this time, we consider the action on items we discussed in closed session. First, the staff recommendations. Do we have a motion? Well, do you have anything to say first, Dr. Glenn?
Now, once again, just want to thank Wes Jones and the HR department. I know they work hard, especially this time of year, to get teacher contracts ready. And then also thank our administrative team once again for providing those in a timely manner, getting the evaluations done in a timely manner. And at this time, it's our pleasure to recommend the staff contracts as presented, as well as the new hires.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Do you do those together or separately?
We can do them separately today.
Right, then, Madam President, I move that we approve the staff recommendations as presented.
And do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Moore. We have a second by Ms. Graff. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That's unanimous. And now, do we have a motion for the term contracts?
Madam President, I make a motion that we accept the term contracts as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Gore.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That passed unanimously. Thank you very much. And at that, we are adjourned at 7:03 p.m.
All right.
Thank you, board.